Chapter 6. The Real Assignment. "I love this show," Shane said, as he and Solomon waited in line outside the auditorium. Giggles, squeals, and chatter filled the school hallways as students walked to the auditorium in anticipation of the day's entertainment. "Yeah, me too," said someone, standing behind them in line. "Last year's hypnotist was amazing. Do you remember how he got everyone on stage to dance a square dance, and half of them didn't even know what a square dance was?" "I wouldn't want to go on stage," said Solomon. "I don't want anyone messing with my mind." Raj was intrigued when he read the posters for the visiting scholar, Dr. Ravana, neuroscientist and illusionist. Emily was excited to attend her first show with a hypnotist. These shows were common in Canada, but only for senior school students. Mei Ling, on the other hand, was terrified of being called up on the stage. She waited as long as possible before taking a seat near the back of the auditorium. The headmaster of the upper school, Mr. Helmsby, stepped onto the stage to the microphone. He wore the usual headmaster uniform, a shirt and tie with a V-neck sweater. His tone was casual and folksy as he chatted with the students while everyone took their seats. "This year," he began, "we have a special guest. She comes with a remarkable blend of skills and expertise. She is a neuroscientist as well as an expert in psychology and a trained illusionist, which means," he continued, "that she can blend the best of brain work with the understanding of the human psyche to create illusions that convince you that what you are seeing is real." The guest suddenly appeared next to Mr. Helmsby. If she had walked across the stage to join him, no one saw it. She was suddenly just there. Good afternoon, Dr. Ravana," Mr. Helmsby said, obviously shaken by her unexpected arrival. He extended a hand in greeting. She did not respond. She looked him directly in the eye, then disappeared, only to reappear on the other side of the stage. Walking toward him, she extended her hand in greeting and smiled as if nothing unusual had happened. The headmaster was clearly disoriented, but put on a good face and greeted her with a smile. The students laughed and clapped, already impressed. "Welcome, Dr. Ravana," he said. "Thank you, Mr. Helmsby. It is a great pleasure to be here," she said, looking out to the audience with a big smile. Dr. Ravana's clothing was unusual. She wore a man's suit that was tightly tailored to fit her female form. From a distance, it appeared black and shone like metal. As she moved, the fabric rippled around her body, flowing like silk. But when she stood still, it became rigid, outlining her form like a suit of armor. Emily listened intently as the doctor explained the basic tenets of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to adjust and adapt in order to reestablish functioning of the body when the brain cells have been destroyed. She was captivated by Dr. Ravana's smooth confidence and knowledge. The word evil sprang to Raj's mind as he watched Dr. Ravana on stage. No, Raj thought, it's not evil. It's something else, something altogether more interesting. Power, he thought. Yes, that's it. She has complete authority over Mr. Helmsby. She owns the stage and everything on it. Raj hoped one day he would have such power. "We understand that the neurons that fire together will wire together over time," Dr. Ravana explained, "creating neural pathways that are fixed. In other words, when you think a thought over and over again, it establishes a neural pathway that then becomes part of your brain pattern." She smiled out at them as she repeated this basic concept. "This means that you begin to see the world through the neural networks you have created with frequent thoughts." Whoa, thought Emily. Our thoughts can change the world, or at least the way we see it. Solomon looked around at the other students, expecting the usual bored expressions. Instead, they were spellbound, their eyes riveted on Dr. Ravana. He wondered if they were under a spell. captivated by her shiny presence. He felt the seductive quality of her quiet, certain voice and her strong declarations. He appreciated the wisdom in what she was saying, but instinctively he didn't trust her. Mei Ling was frightened. There was something horrifying about this woman. The illusion of smoothness hid a dark energy, something she couldn't quite identify, that made her stomach knot as she watched. Of course, this is very useful information when working with illusion, Dr. Ravana continued. Illusions are easily created by manipulating perceptions, sometimes through optics only, and other times in more subtle and profound ways through feelings. I will need volunteers to illustrate what I mean. She looked out at the audience, her suit sparkling in the overhead lights. Students were out of their seats and rushing to the stage so quickly that Mr. Helmsby barely had time to order them to stop. How many students would you like? He asked Dr. Ravana. She looked out at the audience where only a handful of students remained seated. I would like those still sitting to stand, please. Yes, these are the ones. She nodded, looking directly at Mei Ling. Oh God, thought Mei Ling. This was her worst fear. She could not resist this woman's eyes. They bore into her as she got out of her seat and moved slowly toward the stage. Raj was delighted he had waited in his seat and stood instantly in response to her command, happy for the opportunity to study this woman more closely. Solomon remained seated until the students around him pushed him to get up. He noticed Shane was also walking toward the stage. Emily, mouth still open in awe, slowly shook her head as if coming out of a trance and got to her feet to join the small group moving toward the stage. Her volleyball friends Beth and Amelia walked with her. Amelia was giggling with nervous excitement. Yes, please come and sit, Dr. Ravana said kindly, motioning them to sit on the chairs that had been brought from backstage. There were 20 students in total seated before the school assembly. They looked around at each other, equally mystified that they were here on stage when it was clear they shared a common desire to stay seated in the audience. Let's begin with a simple illusion, and we will see who is able to detect it clearly. Those who can will stay until we have just the right number for our final demonstration. She smiled at them, although to Solomon it looked more like a sneer. An image appeared on the screen behind them. Dr. Ravana walked along the row of students, asking each to say what they saw on the screen. It was a black and white image of 2 vases that also appeared as 2 women's faces, touching nose to nose, depending on whether one focused on the white or the black. Dr. Ravana motioned for some of the students to leave the stage after they had given their answers. It was unclear how she made her choice to deselect them. Sometimes she asked them to leave if they saw the faces, and other times when they saw the vases. In total, only 10 students remained seated when she was finished. Excellent, she said, smiling broadly. Next, I will give you a more subtle illusion. Few of you will see it clearly, but those who do will have the great good fortune to stay for the final act. I would like you to write on this paper what you see in the next illusion, she said, handing each student a pad of paper and a pen. This way you will not be able to influence each other's answers. She motioned, and a new image appeared on the screen. It was a collage of images so densely packed that it was hard to detect a predominant theme. Look closely, she said encouragingly, like a teacher expecting great results. They looked. Emily squinted to see more clearly, hoping an outline would appear from within all the details. Solomon closed his eyes for a minute, then looked again. Raj stared at the screen, willing himself to see something. Mei Ling looked at Dr. Ravana, too afraid to look at the image and possibly get the right answer. She was wondering how she could get off the stage. They wrote their answers on their notepads, and Dr. Ravana walked slowly from student to student, looking at what they had written. Then she looked each of them deep in the eyes before motioning for several to leave the stage. There was a mixture of relief and disappointment on the students' faces as they left. Then she came to Solomon. She looked at him first, then at his pad, then back at him. She handed him the pad and said, "Stay." Solomon groaned internally. "I don't want to be here," he thought. When she was finished, there were only 6 students left on stage. "Now please stand and let us know your names," Dr. Ravana commanded. Beth gave her name, smiling shyly. Shane said his name with a laugh. Then Raj spoke. Emily said her name clearly. When Mei Ling said her name, her voice was so quiet it was barely audible, even to those on stage next to her. "Please speak louder," commanded Dr. Ravana. Mei Ling, startled, barked out her name, and the kids in the audience laughed. Finally, Solomon gave his name. Raj recognized it from the list he had seen in the library and noted the other 2 students on the list were also on stage. "Now I would like you to sit comfortably in your chair with your feet flat on the floor so we can begin the final demonstration," said Dr. Ravana, quickly taking charge. They stood, stunned, unable or unwilling to sit. Raj was the first to lower himself into his chair, keen to participate in the doctor's experiment. Beth's nervousness made her slip slightly off her chair as she sat. Emily followed, then Shane and Solomon sat at the same time. Mei Ling sat reluctantly when she realized it would be better to sit than stand alone on stage. "Now I want you to let your body relax, but be alert in your chair," Dr. Ravana said, her voice dropping to a lower tone. "Now take a deep breath in, hold it, then let it out slowly." She stopped, waiting for them to settle. "As you breathe in, imagine you are breathing in fresh energy, and as you breathe out, you are releasing tension and tiredness from your body." Again she waited. "Feel your body relax." Her voice was incredibly calming, and Raj could feel himself slowly relaxing. He wasn't familiar with the sensation, but he enjoyed it. Mei Ling felt herself resisting the instructions. She did not want to be hypnotized and dance the square dance in front of hundreds of people her age. She kept her breathing shallow in a deliberate attempt to stay tense. "Now bring your attention to your head where the brain is. You can imagine a tiny spark of life energy in the center of your forehead where all the thinking happens. This is the living being, or the software inside the brain's hardware." What she's saying makes no sense, thought Solomon, but he could feel a tiny dot of concentrated energy behind his forehead, between his eyes. He didn't want to follow her instructions, but her voice pulled him the same way a strong current pulls a boat downstream. Emily noticed her thoughts were slowing down. She wondered if this was how her mom felt when she went upstairs to meditate every evening. "Now imagine there is a room inside your head," Dr. Ravana said, "a big, bright, clean room, and you are sitting inside this room on the most comfortable chair you know." Her voice dropped an octave, like the sound of a flute transforming into a bassoon. "You are very comfortable sitting in this chair, and you settle in relaxed and cozy." Is this what it's like to be hypnotized? Raj wondered. He found the sensation rather pleasant. "Imagine in front of you where your eyelids are is a big screen, like in a movie theater. Imagine that you are hearing my voice now, coming into the room through speakers, one on each side of the room where the ears are. If velvet made a sound, it would sound like this voice," thought Mei Ling. She was having trouble resisting and finally surrendered herself to the strong pull of Dr. Ravana's commands. "Now imagine on the screen of your mind a scene begins to unfold like a movie. Suddenly, the scene in front of them changed. They were standing in the school library, at the center of the room where the dictionaries were displayed on podiums. Solomon looked around, recognizing this place reserved for silence. He often came here to be alone. Raj recognized the Chinese girl from math class. Emily recognized the Indian guy who had been so rude to her in the hallway on the first day of school, but she saw no sign of Beth. Solomon turned to talk to Shane, only to discover he was gone. Mei Ling looked at the others, seeing their faces clearly for the first time. "Looks real," Solomon said. Raj turned to look at Solomon. Their eyes met in search of comprehension. Although they had seen each other in the hallways, they had never spoken. "It's an illusion," Raj announced, as if to clear up any confusion. Dr. Ravana appeared from behind the bookshelves. She spoke with the same commanding tone she had used on stage, but without the smile or the velvet. "Now that I have you here," she said, lingering without finishing the sentence. Mei Ling surprised herself when she spoke. "But there are only 4 of us. What happened to the others?" "You are the ones." The doctor's face was taut and polished like metal. "Is this an illusion?" asked Emily. "No, it is not an illusion," Ravana snarled. Emily looked at Solomon and Mei Ling, registering their faces from the cafeteria. She sought support in their eyes, and Solomon returned a thin smile. Raj moved quietly away and stood slightly apart from the group. "You are here to receive the real homework assignment, the one that has been reserved especially for you. Whether you accept it or not, it is up to you." Dr. Ravana spoke with a harsh tone, any veneer of kindness gone. Mei Ling looked around the room, hoping to see evidence that this was in fact an illusion. "Your real assignment is quite simple," Dr. Ravana continued. "You must discover the 7 secrets that will change humanity's relationship with this world. In the process, you must change yourselves. When you have changed and are ready to live in a better world, this old world will be destroyed." She spoke in a monotone as if she was announcing the weather and looked at them with disdain. Clearly, she didn't want to be here any more than they did. "What? Don't be ridiculous. What kind of joke is this?" spluttered Raj. His demeanor hardened as he looked at her, awaiting a response. He was ready to challenge the authority of this woman who had enthralled him only minutes before. "There is no joke," she said more softly, "but it's unlikely you will succeed, so you need not take it seriously." There was a pause as each of them struggled to comprehend what was happening. "Destruction will continue as predicted, whether you succeed or not," Ravana continued. "The world has reached the point of self-destruction anyway." She stopped to allow her words to sink in. Her smile was unpleasant, unnatural. Obviously, the thought of world destruction pleased her enormously. "Unfortunately, I am bound to state the truth in this short time we are face to face," she said, clearly unhappy with these terms. "You have 5 minutes to clarify your assignment, after which time I am no longer bound by these rules." She looked at her silver wristwatch as if she wished she could make time move more quickly. "I'm sorry, ma'am," said Solomon respectfully, "but where are we really, and what are you talking about? Is this part of an illusion?" Ravana ignored his direct questions. "You have been chosen for this assignment on the basis of your inner qualities. The secrets will be revealed to you if you can understand them. You will only succeed if you can see through the veil of illusion that I will weave around you." She smiled at this thought. "Even the finest minds would not succeed. Thus my surprise to see that you are the ones who have been chosen," she said curtly. "Well, that's encouraging," said Emily sarcastically. There was something about this woman that provoked aggression. Why would we accept an assignment doomed to failure? I mean, if we aren't likely to succeed, and if destruction's going to happen anyway, then what's the point? My part is to convey the message, said Dr. Ravana. I am not obliged to explain anything further. It was considered important that you meet me in order to know the form of resistance you will encounter during the assignment. I will do everything possible to stop you, as I love this world in its current state, full of greed, anger, desire. I thrive in corruption, chaos, and conflict. She stopped for a moment to rearrange her hair, adjusting a silver clip with a loud snap. Her entire physical appearance was slowly beginning to change. A metallic sheen covered her body as the illusion of humanness faded. Mei Ling saw that the illusionist's face was very different up close. Although her eyes were dark and appeared beautiful at first glance, seen more closely, they looked like steel balls. They were rimmed with false eyelashes that reached up past the border of her eyebrows, far beyond where normal eyelashes would go. Her nose was bent at an angle, taking up too much space in the middle of her face. In fact, Mei Ling was shocked to see that the face that had appeared beautiful from a distance was ugly and disproportioned when seen more closely. Quietly, through tightened lips, Ravana said, I may have understated the possibility of success, but my job is to limit your chances of succeeding. That being said, if you do succeed, humanity will be renewed with the rest of the planet. The possibility of success prompted Mei Ling to make good use of their limited time. Okay then, she said, trembling slightly. What do we need to know to succeed? Ravana frowned at this request and responded with a scowl. The secrets are hidden between the worlds. You will have to find your way there to discover them. There are 7 secrets. You must understand them all, and you must believe in each other. That's it. She stopped speaking abruptly, as if exerting an enormous amount of self-control. How do we get between the worlds, as you call it? Asked Raj. It is a matter of intention and concentration. I doubt you will be able to do it. You will have to experiment. Her response was evasive. What kind of secrets are they? Asked Mei Ling. This I am not bound to tell you, Ravana said, obviously delighted to deny them this information. How will you try to stop us? Asked Solomon. At first, my methods will be obvious, but as you get closer, they will change. However, you will not see me again in this form. And should you succeed in this assignment, I will be forced to leave. She hesitated for a moment, then added, for a time. Her smile was sickening. One final word, Ravana said. You will not fully succeed unless you trust each other completely. And remember, everything I said on stage is true. Okay, time's up, she said with obvious delight, and disappeared in a flash of bright light, her silver hair clip clattering to the floor at their feet. Oh, that was beyond weird, said Emily. She stepped forward to pick up the hair clip. As she held it up to look at it more closely, it vanished. Ooh, she's scary, Mei Ling said quietly. Like her namesake, said Raj. What do you mean, her namesake? Solomon asked. Well, in India, Ravana is the demon that causes sorrow through illusion. Having been raised in a world of deities and demons, Raj spoke as if from a textbook. Of course, the other Ravana has 10 heads. Well, she was pretty creepy even without 10 heads, said Emily. I don't get it, said Solomon. Why would we be chosen? I mean, I suppose it's connected to the essay on end times, but out of all the students in our grade, why us? He tended to chatter when he was nervous. And is this real? Why us? Mimicked Raj. Well, maybe we're smarter or more talented or have better minds. He looked again at the others. I know we've all read that New Beginnings book, he said. In fact, we're the only ones who have ever read it. Solomon took in Raj's smug, know-it-all expression and expressed the inexplicable irritation he felt rising in him. He turned to the others and changed the subject. What did you guys see in that last image she showed us? Emily had completely forgotten about the image, but was suddenly curious to know what the others had seen. I saw a mountain broken in half, she said. I saw a huge wave of water, said Mei Ling. Great, said Raj. I saw airplanes dropping bombs. I saw a rainbow in a field with a pool of water and a golden pavilion, said Solomon. Okay, this is even weirder. How did that get us here? Asked Emily. And why did he get to see something beautiful? Raj asked, gesturing at Solomon. I remember seeing those images in that New Beginnings book, said Mei Ling. She twisted her hands together, trying to calm her pounding heart. But what would the book have to do with this? Solomon asked. I don't believe any of it. I'm out of here, said Raj, and he turned to walk out of the library. Emily, who wasn't used to not liking people, felt a surge of annoyance as she watched him walk away. Hey, what if it's true? She yelled to his back. I mean, she's pretty convincing. Well, she is an illusionist after all, isn't she? Said Raj, not turning around. She obviously hypnotized us and led us here. I don't know how, but I'm not interested. He continued walking, a slight smirk on his face, his fine black leather shoes clicking dismissively as he left. Maybe we should just try to forget it, muttered Mei Ling. I'm expecting the curtains to close on the stage and everyone to burst out in applause, said Emily. Aren't you? She looked at Solomon and Mei Ling. Solomon nodded. But there were no curtains. They stood in the library for another few minutes, totally bewildered. Not able to make sense of it, they exchanged telephone numbers and decided to go home.